Yo, what's up, y'all? This is Let's Rap Podcast, and I'm your host, Philosophical.
And I am your host, Jay Echo. What's good, y'all?
Yo. Today we have a special guest. This is a little bit in the making. We've been having some issues, but we're glad we were able to reschedule and get her back on. Miss IamShatoria. Her IG is IamShatoria. IamShatoria. She's a founder, host of her own podcast, IamShatoria Podcast. She's a life coach, mentor, motivational speaker, author. Just came out with a book that I highly recommend. I've been reading myself called Authentic Transparency, which also has a workbook along with it, and her website, IamShatoria.com. Welcome, Shatoria.
Hello.
Yes. So today we are talking about the reality of love and marriage. This is a topic. Basically. I think this is kind of a transparent, a gray area where it's not really talked about kind of the real life of relationships, dating, marriage, and just the reality of it. There's always this sense of when you first meet someone, you're giving your best foot forward, your best presentation. But when you start to get in the weeds and thick of things in a relationship, or once that relationship has evolved to marriage, it's a different ball game.
Yep.
You see a lot of things as a man living with a woman, and also a woman living with a man. There's also the untold stories and things that women go through. I think it's not very talked about within the men space.
Right.
And some men can't handle it. Yeah, some men can't handle it. I know sometimes for me, you just got to be strong. You just got to be strong, fellas. So that's the topic for today. We'll start with Miss Shatoria. Your thoughts on it?
So I will agree. There's definitely the untold things from women, and I truly think in a relationship that needs to change. Because here's the thing: if you have these conversations before I do, then a lot of things can be resolved before you say I do, and then you'll know if that is the person for you. I feel like when you have a lot of women, we don't speak everything. So let's take, for instance, medical issues, kids, money. These are important conversations. Statuses. These are important conversation that needs to be had, even down to religion. Because at the end of the day, you're talking about being with someone for the rest of your life. The problem that I have is a lot of people are going in, like, my biggest hiccup, this is just me, I don't do prenups. I feel like this is this.
I think that's I don't think you're alone in that camp.
You'd be surprised how a lot of people make me feel like I'm alone in that category. Because I feel like, here's the thing, I got married, but when I got married, house, car, education, business. And so when we got married, prenup, and I'm still being successful in that. I didn't get into marriage to think he's going to leave me, take me for everything I got. And what's the point of me getting married then?
Yeah, that's a good point.
So here's a question I have for you. You just stated that, the things like finances and everything are conversations that you need to have. Do you feel like the possibility of failure is a conversation that needs to be had?
Absolutely. Yeah. Here's the thing. Men and women think very differently. I need to be able to go into a situation knowing that I may not do so well. Mm-hmm. Are you going to have my back if I don't do so well? And that's where we tend to not think. So let's take this. A lot of people really had a lot to say about me and my husband when we got married because we wasn't on the same level. Mm-hmm. I'm very, let's go, let's do it. And at the time he was like, I'm chilling. And now, 11 years later, he has a degree. He's getting a Sec Plus and the whole time now. So for me, I saw something that other people didn't see. And my thing about it was I tried to encourage him.
The whole marrying from potential.
Absolutely.
I think, that's a huge topic right now. Yeah.
I think there's a huge caveat because I understand marrying for potential, but I think it's not just, I don't like the term potential because potential can go one of two ways. It can go either they cash that in or it just falls by the wayside.
I think with that though, potential is only as good as a person sees it themselves.
Fair, but
but what is it to say that what someone may see potential in you
that
may not be
yourself.
You don't see it yourself, or your trail's trying to figure out how to get to that point.
That's where the person comes in to encourage you. So let's take men, for example.
Correct.
A lot of you don't really sometimes see in you, but we as women, like we feel like you got it. I'm gonna encourage you. You know what I'm saying? So like feel like you were saying, your wife is there. She's like, you got this. You can do this. You can do this. Yeah. A lot of women, that's how we're built. That's how we're built to encourage, push you the whole entire nine. Because guess what? I see in you.
And men are more encouraging through action.
Absolutely.
Men are more
because they don't always know how to use their words. And then let's be honest, to some women, men use words and it's not quite right. And that's not really what he meant. So it's like, let me show you that I got you. And it can be as simple of buying your book. It can be simple of reading. It can be simple of just listening.
And I think I want to bring up this caveat because I think that also brings pressure to the fact that if a man doesn't go above and beyond, like for example, if a woman wants to start a business, a man's thinking maybe, man, I gotta go buy her a building. Man, I gotta go pay for her to go to school. I think there's got to be parameters of support as far as
you got to take your expectations as the individual. Me as a woman, that is not my expectation. And if we're putting those expectations on men, that is a problem. That's not fair to them.
But I think men view that expation as support to be able to provide that encouragement to someone.
To also inform you that this is a teamwork and you ain't got to do that. It takes levels.
But I will, on my side, I will say that we spoke about this a little bit last week, but that's where ego comes in though. Because for me, I will say I've been in situations where somebody's like, yo, you don't have to do this by yourself. Like there are people around you who can support you. But whether my ego or just lack of trust or whatever the case, whatever you want to call it, it was just like, no, I do have to do this for myself because there's going to come a point.
Do you feel like it's the fear of failure?
It's not even just, well, yes, that's part of it. Let's be real about it. Feel of failure is a huge part of it. And I think that's also a huge part in why men in general will write off when somebody does try and encourage them and sow positivity into them, because it's like, yo, if this goes left, I've just wasted all that goodwill that you've given me, right?
Okay.
But that's also, it's a mindset that as a woman, a lot of people, men and women, have that thought process because of past.
Yeah.
So that's embedded. But then when you get that right person who, let's say you failed on something, she's like, you got it, boo, don't even worry about it. Like, okay, we're going to either try again. What's the next step? Like they encouraging you to get to those things to where it's going to take time to get you out of that mindset. But however, it's being worked. And one thing that I said on my podcast, I've said before, I'm very clear about it in my book. 20 years of being told you're not nothing, you're worthless, you're only good for sex, those type of things. It's taking 20 more years to unwind what 20 years have done.
Mhm.
So when we get into the relationships, the question has to come in, where's their mindset? Where are they at mentally? Can they mentally be there for you? And one of the things I have to always remind women is men come with baggage as well, not just women. So you can't be like, well, he needs to accept my baggage, blah, blah, but you're not willing to accept his. We can't do that.
I think men come back with baggage mentally, extremely mental. It's an extreme mental case.
Emotionally too. Yeah.
And I believe the emotional part because they have issues that are not talked about. And
I think the emotional stimulates the mental. I do. It stimulates the mental because
they work together. Yes. But I think it's still, there are two separate, they're separate, but they're not mutually exclusive, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like they feed into each other, but I don't think they're completely, like, they're not completely intertwined and they're not completely separate. Like you can, what's it called? Like emotional intelligence, which is something I've been trying to get a little bit more insight into recently. Like your emotional intelligence can inform some of the decisions you make, right?
Yeah.
And what's it called? Your emotional state can often cause you to make stupid decisions, or like in the moment, it feels like the smartest thing you could possibly do. It's like, okay, I'm making this decision because it seems to get me to the best outcome based on the information I have emotionally and logically, right?
Yeah.
But if you like after you get a little bit more emotional knowledge or intelligence, and then you see that same situation again, or hindsight, which is usually the case for most men, it's just like, yeah, I wouldn't have done that. I wouldn't have played it the way I did back then.